Hi, good morning, good evening. Hope you're doing well. Welcome to my channel. My name is Ray Wheeler. I am a financial coach, and this is Money Wellness. Hope you guys are doing well. If this is your first time, welcome. If you are returning, thank you. I appreciate the support. On this channel, what I like to do on every single episode is to meet, which means I like to motivate you, educate you, empower you, and then hopefully that leads to you taking some actions in your life that will allow you to rise above your situation. Um, so today's topic is going to be about smart saving. In the last episode, we talked about smart debt. So if you guys want to check out the last episode to get caught up on that, or any of the other episodes that I have put out there, you can just check those out on the channel. So for today's motivation, it is a it's a song by an artist called Little Dicky. It is parental advisory, so don't let your little ones listen to it. But the reason I like it is, I mean, it's a funny song, but it's got some true lines in there. And a couple lines I like is he talks about bargain shopping. So he talks about buying winter clothes in the summer when they're on sale and buying off-brand products to save money and going to happy hours and using coupons, right? And it's a funny song, so give it a listen if you haven't. But like I said, I really like it because he's talking about, while he's rapping, different ways to save money creatively, right? So recap what SMART means. SMART means anytime you're doing a SMART goal, it means you're being specific, you're measuring something, it's obtainable, you're being realistic, and there's a timetable to it. So for SMART saving, there are three main accounts that you should have, right? The very first account that you should set up is called an emergency fund. This emergency fund should be bare minimum 3 months of your monthly expenses, right? Now, if you've watched other videos, you know I've talked about how the average American doesn't even have $500 in an emergency fund, let alone 3 months worth of expenses. So there's obviously a large gap there. The second type of savings account that you need to have is what we call a short term savings account. And that should be 1 to 3 years of savings. And in that savings should be the same thing. It can be in case you, for whatever reason, lost your job. So, COVID, right? Um, if you had emergency fund and you had your short-term savings, you could have been okay, right? Because you would have had monthly expenses for built up for a year plus, right? But also in that short-term savings, you can put down payments for a house. You can put down payments for a brand new car. Um, Technically, you can use them for a trip if you want. I really like to create separate funds for those things, but you can definitely put that in there. And then the third is considered a long term, and that long term is your IRAs, which is your individual retirement account, a 401k, so your company account, a 401k retirement account. It can also be any other investments that you have, but that should be long term. And in that long term savings account, it should be basically any money that you plan on not touching for at least 5 years, bare minimum, right? So don't put anything in that long term account that you don't expect to touch, right? So, in case of an emergency or in case of things like COVID, a lot of people touch their long term account, right? They cashed out their 401ks or IRAs because they were hurting on money. And the problem is that really hurts you because all that money that was in there, that's been investing, that's been accruing interest, right? And it's really hard to get that interest back. So that anytime you put money in there, make sure that is money that you do not plan on touching. Um, that is also where, when I talk about paying you first, that is where you should be putting money into that IRA and 401k and those long term investments like that. So, about setting up or saving up for the emergency fund, right? So the emergency fund is your monthly expenses. So it's very easy. What you will basically do is go through and all the things that are needs. So your rent, your utility bills, your cable bill, food, grocery, internet, whatever things you consider that are the most vital that are needs, right? We've talked about this need versus want, right? This emergency fund is for your needs, right? So if an emergency happens, right? Unfortunately, there are things that you're not going to be able to do, right? So, oh darn it, I don't have money for my Showtime Max or my HBO Max or um, whatever other membership you have, right? There's something else that you're using that's not a necessary need, right? That shouldn't be in the emergency fund, right? It can be, but not when you're first starting it. When you're very first starting your emergency fund, the very bare necessities need to be in there. And then once you can get that, those bare necessities are met, then you can start adding in those wants and, really looking at, okay, this is really what my monthly expenses are, right? But to for the bare bones minimum, just for simplicity's sake, that's what we want to do, right? Now that is that is something that emergency fund should be the very first thing you tackle, and you should you can't get the 6 months. Like I said, you're going to be way ahead of the curve if you can just get a couple months in there, right? You'll be way ahead of the curve. Now, when you're trying to do that short-term savings, right? That short-term savings account, which, like I said, can be used for vacations, car, down payments, and stuff like that. You want to be very specific on what it is. So, what is that short-term goal? So, if you are looking to put a down payment down on a house, what is the down payment you are looking to put down? Right? Are you looking to put down a 3%, a 10%, 5%, whatever it is, right? So, and then you need to go ahead and take whatever the house you're looking at, right? Whether it's a $30,000 house, $250,000 house, whatever it is, right? And then you're going to times that times 3%, and that is going to give you that down payment number, right? Same thing with the car, however much the car is, right? 20% or $20,000, $30,000, whatever your down payment is, right? Now, the larger your down payment is obviously the less debt you have to accumulate, which is awesome. So we always want to put down a large down payment if we can, right? I talked about before budgeting for an entertainment. If there is a vacation or something else short term that you're saving up for, same thing. You want to budget as much as possible. Now, obviously, plane ticket prices change, resort prices, may change, things like that. But you can get a rough estimate, right? The resort that you want to stay at is $250 a night, right? So that's your start. So 250 a night. How many nights am I going to stay? Okay. And then typical, like I said, when you go out to eat, you're typically going to spend 60 to $120 each night you eat out, right? Well, then are you going to eat? Do you plan on eating breakfast, lunch, dinner, things like that, right? So just so you are really prepared in that in that savings, right? Why? Because we don't want to have to touch our emergency fund for those things, and we don't want to have to touch our third account, our long-term account, right? Now, going into our third account, our long-term account. This long-term account is different for everybody. And so being specific with this is going to always be different because you need to understand how you want to live, right? So $1 million may be a great goal for some. It may not be how much the other people need. It may be more. It may be 5 million, right? What you need to figure out, and the best way to figure out how much you're going to need in retirement is figure out what are you making now, right? So if right now you make 45,000, $50,000, right? How are you living? Are you comfortable? Do you need more? Do you want more? Right? Or are you living within your means? Okay. Then when you retire, a lot of things people don't think about is you're going to have a lot more free time. So right now you're working, right? You're working 8 hours a day, maybe more, 12 hours a day, right? 40 hours a week, 80 hours every 2 weeks. Well, once you retire, you just filled up 80 hours, right? 80, or you have available 80 hours, right? So how do you fill up that 80 hours? What are you going to do? Right? Are you going to go movies? Are you going to go on walks? Are you going to travel? Right? So a big mistake a lot of people make is they think I'm going to be okay in retirement because I'm all right with whatever I make right now. I'm comfortable. And the thing you don't realize is your lifestyle is going to change, right? And that's a lot of people they're just not expecting that. Right. Next, you need to figure out what vehicle you're going to use, right? Are you going to use a individual retirement account? And then in that individual retirement account, you are able to put away a max each year, right? Your max you're able to put away each year is $6,500, right? Are you going to be able to hit that, right? Is your goal going to be able to put in that $6,500, right? In your 401k, you are able to contribute up to $19,000, right? Are you going to try to hit that goal? Or are you going to try to hit something in the middle? And then if you are self-employed, right, and you decide to get a self-employed IRA or a SEP IRA, right, you are able to use up to 25% of your income can go towards that, right? So are you going to put 25% of your income or 5% or 10%, right, into that? Do you have other investment vehicles, right? You have a 529 or a college savings account that you want to put money into, right? Do you have kids or grandkids that you might want to put a gift account or a trust account? You might want to put money into an UTMA or an UGMA or an UTMA, right? So there's those accounts that you might want to also put money into, right? And those also have limits that you can put money into that we'll talk to about in a later video. I'll get into those types of investments. There are different accounts and there's different maximums that you can do. And then for married couples, right, there are different um, contribution levels and things that you can put in, right? So you need to know your numbers and know where you're at, and then know exactly what you want to put in, right? Because, like I said, the last thing you want to do is not know and fall short, and then come um, tax time or come near end of the year, right? You see your statement, you're like, dang, I didn't fully contribute to my 401k. I didn't fully contribute to my IRA. Your company has a match, right? Maybe your company matches 1, 2, 3%, 50%, right? What is that match? What are those numbers? What do I need to put in to get the match, right? So these are things you need to be thinking about um, when you're trying to make your goal for the year and how you want to save, right? Because like I've stated before, without knowing those numbers and knowing how you're going to measure it and then putting that time limit on there, you're going to feel really crappy. And then because if it's unrealistic, you feel like a failure. So also, if you know you can't hit those maxes of 18,000, 19,000, 25% or 6,500 or anything like that, right? Or the 6 months for your emergency fund or 1 to 3, if you can't hit those, don't over try to do them, right? Just to do it, right? Know at the beginning of the year, just like we did with the debt management, what is your monthly goal you want to put aside, right? $100 a month, right? Out of that $100 a month, how do you want to divvy that up, right? Do you want to divvy up that 100 bucks, $33 into the emergency fund, $33 into the short term, and then $33 into the retirement account? Or maybe you want to, split it up 50, 25, 50, or yeah. It doesn't matter how you want to divvy up your money. You just need to make sure you have that plan so that, like I said, when things happen, you're ready. It's built in your budget and it's expected, right? The thing that is going to help you with your savings is, as I spoke in my last video about your debt management, right? Once you've cleared up debt, you've learned how to live with a certain amount of money, right? So maybe right now you have too much debt to even start saving. And that's okay because once you start eliminating debt, and all that money becomes savings, right? So, like I stated before, right, that $100, $200 that you're putting maybe towards debt, right, that becomes now savings money, or that $400 you're putting towards debt. That so in a couple months you can quickly catch up and put $1,000 away and be where you need to be, right? So don't get discouraged if right now you don't have the money to put into those long-term accounts and into that emergency account that you would like, right? Now, once you have done those three, I like to really budget for everything and create multiple funds, right? So car repair fund, right? Some people put that in the emergency fund. Maybe they count that. I don't. I like to separate that. So my car fund, right? How much does it typically cost you for car repairs? So what are your oil changes? When are you getting oil changes? Are you every 2 months? What is that? 60 bucks? Okay, so if you're getting an oil change every 2 months, that's 60 bucks, right? We're gonna add that. Do you get new tires every year? Right? Okay, how much do new tires usually cost you? $500 or you know, or more. Do you get car washes weekly, monthly, whatever? How much are your car washes? Do you go to the $11 car wash every month, every 2 weeks, right? Add that in there, right? Car fresheners. If you get car fresheners, if you buy new mats, I mean, literally anything that has to do with your car, you want to do, right? Because if you've ever had a car repair, it gets costly really fast. So if you have old bills, heck, there's no problem sitting there and just, I really don't know, but I know I have this $1,000. I'm gonna put this $1,000 in my car fund because car repairs aren't cheap. And guess what? You're gonna thank yourself later that there's $1,000 in that car fund because now you don't have to touch your 401k. You don't have to touch your money for that house you're saving for or that car you're saving for. And you don't have to touch that emergency fund, right? Because that was for necessity. Okay. I also like to create a fund for, like I stated before, vacation that sometimes isn't in that short term. Same thing, you want to do that. If you have a, what do I want to say, a vehicle that you are possibly saving up for your kid, or maybe you have an allowance for your kid, right? That you want to give. That should also be separate in its own fund, right? And so it may seem very tedious to have all these different funds, right? Or all these different envelopes, right? Because they don't always need to be in checking accounts, right? You can have your car fund and some of the other smaller funds, they can be just cash envelope funds that you have, right? But the whole point of it is when stuff hits the fan, right? You're not having to reach for your other money that you really need, right? These things have already been budgeted for you. School clothes, there you go. School clothes. How much are you spending on school clothes, school supplies, right? Boom. Look at last year when you went shopping for school clothes and all that. Boom. So then school time comes, August. Wow, I have $600, right? I'm not stressing about how am I going to pay for all these things because thought ahead. I've already saved up and put it in this right here, right? You can do it for birthdays. You can do it for Christmas presents, right? You can literally create a separate fund for anything, right? Literally anything. And like I said, the best thing of it, and you're going to thank yourself, is when stuff hits the fan, you're not worried, you have the money, right? So what I would like for you guys to do today is figure out what are those things, right? The action I would like for you to take is what are your numbers? What are the funds that you want to do? What are the little envelopes you want to create? And what's a realistic goal? let's set a savings goal for 2023 right now, today, maybe this weekend, right? Let's get started. There's no reason to wait. You never know what's going to happen, right? And why keep waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting, right? Why keep procrastinating? There's no reason to procrastinate when you could do it right now. You have some free time. Pause whatever video you're watching, unless it's mine, of course, JK. Or listening to whatever song, or maybe do it while you're doing that song, whatever. But let's get it done today. Let's start. I hope that this message resonates. Really appreciate if I've said anything in this video that inspiring you or has motivated you to take some action or do something. I'm so glad. I hope that you share this message with someone else that you think it can help them as well. Like, subscribe so you can get notifications that I have. Share this with whoever you have on any platform you have so that they can get this information. I want to touch as many lives as I possibly can. If you would like to schedule a meeting with me, they are free. You can just hit the link in my bio. You can see all the different things that I offer there. Comment if you have any comments that you want or any things I can do about any content that you wish you want me to expand on further, a part two that you might need on something didn't seem clear. Let me know. I'm all open for suggestions. You guys have a great rest of your day, night, and keep chasing your dreams. Stay blessed.